All right, call to order, President Lee. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, approval of minutes from the June 23rd meeting. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Approval of claims. I'll make the motion. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Dusting.
Crew's been mowing roadsides, mechanics still working on stuff, the ambulance follows. Mechanics working on some road, various breakdowns. Been patching potholes, clean culverts, cutting trees back. Made repairs on Long Run, the concrete blocks, riprap. Big large tree that fell on up the drive board, cleaned up several down trees from the 6/18 storms. Hauling spreading gravel on roads. With new culverts on Humboldt Ridge Road, spraying vegetation control in all districts, replaced road sign on Island Road, replaced stop sign and children playing signs on Flint Road, replaced stop signs on Levi Joyce Road. While we're talking about signs, we had, during the flood, we had a lot of barricades, road signs coming up missing. So some of my guys had found some at a resident barricades, so we had the sheriff go down and check on them, and they ended up finding like 15, 16 signs, 3 barricades, a barrel, so we got all that stuff found.
Did you have a, what it costs? That call?
Yes. Yep, I got that, she got all that to the sheriff, and we'd like to hear about charges on that as well. We burned Scott Ridge Road, Little Hominy, Logwood, Antioch, and North Branch in District 2. Working on slip repairs on Atkinson Hill, Pendleton Run, and Bear Creek. Fixed washouts on Men's Hollow. And Evans Hill Road, we had a semi get stuck on the hill that done $14,500 in damages to the blacktop, culverts, and ditches. We've been in contact with his insurance about the repairs. They're sending the check for damages. Working on a hole on Jackson Road due to a damaged culvert, which will be replaced today on July 7th. I'll use the drag and the grader to level the parking lot here at the tech building for the fairgrounds. And Joe, you'd asked me about Mary Ann Drive, about the speed bumps.
Yeah.
From what I found, which we don't have no ordinance for it, but from everything I've seen from other counties, usually that complainant or person that's wanting the speed bump put in, I think they have to do a petition to get a lot of the property owners on board with it.
Okay.
And from other counties, looking at theirs, they like to have at least 55% or more for the speed bump to be put in. And then if that goes through, then we can look at it and see where do we place it and all that. And maybe Garrett might be able to tell us a little more about.
Yeah, and I think we'd also want to loop in the engineering service to make sure that they would sign off that this is something they would even think is appropriate for that type of area. Because you don't want to, if you just start putting them up, even based on a petition, without going through and making sure that it makes sense in that area, then you could run into the impact to a certain car. Speed bumps could mess up cars if they're.
And then I called Dusty also about what you and I discussed with us and asked about at the top of Antioch 250, it's a blind spot. and what the rules are, putting the flashing lights for oncoming traffic.
Okay, that's something we want to explore.
That's what Joe was.
Yeah, I had a resident ask
Yeah,
about that.
and what it is, it's a state road. Highway 250 goes down, or that starts to break over the hill, hanging out, comes up and blows, you can't see. As you come out of it.
Traffic for a little, yeah, traffic for the right.
Well, that's like a cautionary body. What he's talking about, not
Yes.
stop that.
Yeah, cautionary.
I can look, most times I would err on the safe side to loop in the engineer to make sure we've done a study to make sure that's the appropriate type of signal to put there. That's just a caution, because some things you have to, some things it's discretionary. So I would recommend talking to him, make sure that's something, or if they need a full-blown study, and then we just need an ordinance to say, hey, we're gonna put this there. That's the appropriate.
Well, I think our goal will try to contact state first.
Yeah.
It would have to be on the state, really, not.
Yeah, so this is 250 then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's Antioch County Road?
And I did pull our crash data. I do not have much on that intersection. There's a few on down, but I didn't have it. But I bet all that crash data is on the state side.
Yeah. I know you went through that, and I still work here, for 129 and 250. Blinking stop signs out there, that pull all that from the state. And that's part of your problem.
I also want to say thank you to their job, which is.
So do we want to look in contacting NDOT to help with that?
I think it's up to them, because it is dangerous.
It's heavy traffic.
Yeah, I can have quite a bit too. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll reach out to them.
Eric, this is something that I think you should check on. None of us have any knowledge. We had this permit for a while. I found places we've used it in the past. I'm not sure if we need it or that's the right permit. I have a resident that's wanting to put in a water line, and he wants to know if we have a permit to use our right of way. And that's the only permit I know.
You're not sure when it was adopted or?
I am not, all of us here have never really seen this permit used, so. But he's making me one. But I did find a couple instances where we probably got these come through. 20 years ago, and they had to allow this permit and had not. So I know we used to, at one point in time. So you can be back to this. So
Old business, our Norton contract, medical building.
But I've got that. I'm gonna have, John, can I have you print this again?
Can you email it to me?
Yeah. They made the changes that I had requested consistent, and it's consistent with what you guys have negotiated. Now there will be an automatic escalator every year. I was a little apprehensive. There was some language about them being able to every so often kind of have an analysis done of the appropriate rents. I prefer just to have the escalator in there, and so that's where that's the language that's in here. I also changed some things around the applicable laws. Instead of Kentucky law, it's Indiana law we're following, so.
And they agreed to all that.
Yeah, they're good with that. I'll have this printed, but we can just move it down.
Yeah. John, you know? Sure.
I'll start out with Parks Department. Thursday, June 19th, I toured all three parks. Spoke to our superintendent about two broken windows in our concession tower at Barkland, which have been unused and also broken for years. He's going to cover them with plywood. TV cameras are still out of service, but we're working on that. Brush pile on the south side will be leveled, which the Army Corps of Engineers noted. Patriot RV Park has been open for more than 6 weeks and looks fine. One tree is down our walking path at Patriot Park. Bryant's Creek, I removed a bald tire that someone dumped in the weeds. Removed 2 illegal signs at Bryant's Creek. Wednesday, July 2nd, I got a call from the town of Patriot. Someone had dumped 8 large trash bags and 1 wet mattress next to our trash receptacles. And I drove to Patriot Park and removed them that day. Let's see. Dusty's men put up a sign at Bryant's Creek that I asked them to July 1st. So thanks to him. Zoning, the house that burned 2 years ago finally leveled in Beebe, June 19th. 80 plus inoperable vehicles remain untouched in Beebe because they don't care. Patriot Lawnmower Man has added more lawnmowers to his front yard collection. He has about 40 now in number. And the good news in Patriot is 2 houses were demolished on Main Street last week in June. That's it.
What she wanted to talk about, you guys had the hot water heater. That's what she was wanting to get approved, I guess. And then, she was wanting to ask about the part-time position, which there is, in the salary ordinance, there is money on line items there. So, I don't know why she and I talked about the.
Yes. Wesley, you've been intimately involved in this water heater thing. Why is it that she wants this? When
She
has
got a
to
new
do
dog washing station. Well, where she wanted it in a room by itself, contained the dog in that room. They had one out in the bay since the building's been built. But if the dog gets loose, there's nothing to hold it there. She bought this new, no plumbing on the building at all. Other than what's coming out of the ground, concrete, garden, no hot water plumbing. So we would have to put it on that end of the building. In the room she wants it.
What are we gonna do with the 2 electric water heaters?
One electric water heater runs her washer. The plummet would have to, it's all blocked, would have to go through each wall.
Can we do away with all electric water heaters? Can we do away with all the
We would
electric?
definitely, eventually, that's big enough to do everything she needs. We just need to get the water to that end of the building. Without going in the attic, because I know it's gonna freeze up there. Through the walls. All Adam quoted was to get her dog washing station up and going.
That doesn't include. So it's 800 more for the heater, right?
That's total with the,
With the heater. Does she have this? Yes, last one.
She has some, but she could pay for this, but not all of it without. It's just the July, so. Yeah, it's not a lot of money. For the.
How soon is he talking about doing this?
Adam? Yeah. He did not say. I did not ask him how soon. He sent me the quote. Then I had to talk to him. So.
I know you answered this. This is going to do away with the electric stuff. This will be everything on one system.
It can, yes.
I thought you just said this only included the install and hookup to
Yeah,
the.
we'll have to run the water lines over there. Put them on their washers. I didn't ask him to do that. Sure he would, but that ain't gonna, probably not gonna include getting the water lines over there.
Who's gonna do that work?
Well, I guess.
anything wrong with that hot water heater that she's using now?
It's a 20-gallon water heater, it does fine for her washer,
Yeah.
but that's why we went with gas with this, because she's just gonna have it right here. Electric, you know, please. We went with another electric one, she got 3 water heaters. Where the other went bad, you can always hook onto this one. Just mount, gets it across that building. If you mount on the block wall, you can't go through it.
But I would say with these, we just keep you choosing the guys, and then when they go out, switch them over.
Say, they do it.
Now, if she could change the situation to where her dog washing station is, get it all over there together, then all it amounts to is getting the gas line.
Well, that's what's puzzling. Why, how come we can't move it?
Just where she told me she needed it in that room. The old dog washing station is over by the garage. It's in the hallway. Where she told me she needed.
This isn't immediate need, why don't we wait 2 weeks? Because I would also like to ask why phone calls are not being answered. You know, is it not checking voicemails? Is there a cell phone that's needed?
Looks like the cell phone's needed, but that's, again, that's why she's wanting a part-time person.
Yeah.
I mean, the employee that she has, you know, I know is gonna call in.
I don't have any problem voting on that on the part-time position.
I mean, it's good for budget.
Dave Aldrich, if she can come and bring it up.
Yeah, I think she should come and explain.
Like I'm talking about. I don't mind voting on the part-time position. I'll make a motion for the part-time position.
Did she give you any indication of how many hours a week?
I think that's what she. Not over that. Not over 15, yeah, she was going to. It's 12/5, and we got it, we're into July.
I'll second.
All in favor of the part-time position? We'll table
Okay.
everything else, because she can come and explain that better.
So before we move on, I know that they're about the animal shelter and the AC unit that was installed out there. So you guys, I send you a copy of it, so maybe not. This was the proposal, but the idea was just going to, was what they're giving me. Curious where we can go.
Well, if I have to be, we either have to probably ask, or the commissioner, like, for
Yeah. 6304, I think.
we have to ask for an appropriation for, we'll have to.
300.
So. Didn't have a meeting, and they'd say, I mean, that's an invoice, it's bill, but I've already received.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay to go ahead and approve it because of the emergency
Right,
situation,
but I just don't know where to.
getting money.
Yeah.
Times the council meeting on
I-
5 o'clock.
I mean, rainy day fund is what it's for. There's emergency, so.
Just, I guess, put me on the agenda.
You want to take it out, so.
Yeah.
You're gonna get it for.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve the $6,304 for a purchase and install AC at the animal shelter, the funds be appropriated from rainy day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I get that.
Oh.
Have we previously voted and approved it?
You guys have, kind of approved the price. So 2% per year. Yeah.
I think we were at 7. 4.
Where you were before, but I think it was 25%. It went up, yeah. The rest of it's just, I mean, I think they probably had a draft, standard language, and everything seemed to. Yeah, most of it. So I just cut out what I didn't think was appropriate.
So there's really no action required on
Just signing it.
it. I just need one signature.
I can't remember if it's all three that they put on there. No, they put all three of you on there. They do. Procedurally, it doesn't really matter, but
Is that going to be like retroactive? Or no?
no, I talked to them, the upper ups there, they wanted it from the date that it's signed. Then the front talks about the date of the signature, so.
For the new effect to take for all these, right?
Yeah. So we'll send this to them. I'll have you scan a copy, scan to council today.
Don't need for another vote.
Okay, first Roberto, Brian Callister.
Hey, last time this board of zoning appeals and planning commission that's been working on the zoning map. We've been waiting for Garrett to show up so that he digested some of the materials that we prepared, some of which you've seen. Some you haven't, and it was his recommendation that we approach the updating all the ordinances in a more comprehensive manner, like doing the whole plan. Most counties do it every 10 years, it's been 30 years for Smithfield County. Jamie's been part of all this for years now, and what
Joe was on the board too in the beginning.
that's right. So what we wanted to do is not spend a lot of time and energy pushing in a direction that won't move because of cost. And you guys have to, whatever you decide to do, you're gonna have to obviously get approval from council and spend the money. So to that effort, we've been looking at funding for partial funding from grant money towards it. And Garrett has provided some information about what it does cost, that has cost other counties around.
Kind of a range, it just depends on what you want. I mean, from Chevrolet to Cadillac, I mean, the range is 50 to 200,000. I mean, so it's kind of very open-ended on that. I think you're gonna have to come up with some specifics to kind of narrow that down into a budget. The way that it started, and a couple of you know, it started out, we was gonna piecemeal it. It's 29 years, 1996 is what's in effect right now, that comprehensive plan. 2010, John was on the board, it was
tried at that time and repealed. And, you know, so since that time, it had been thought maybe we could just take care of and cherry pick what needs to be addressed, bring it up that way and kind of, you know, but at this point now, at 29 years, it is really outdated in almost all facets. I mean, it's not just one area that you can kind of go in. Now, if that's still the direction that we need to do it, so be it, if funding is an issue. Mr. Bascom, his first meeting with us was last month. You know, it was kind of brought up and he's kind of suggested is if we could do it all at one time and bring it up to 25 standard with what's going on with the demographics of the county, that would maybe be more efficient in the long run than trying to piecemeal it over a course of a number of years. But, you know, it kind of starts with this, you know, I mean, if you guys are not on board or would prefer to have it more piecemeal, for lack of better terminology, so be it. And if so, where do you start? You know, there's obviously some hot topics. And then there's some that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but is just as important. You know, so part of that would be anywhere from subdivision control and minimum lot sizes to blight. You know, and where do you kick the hornet's nest on that, right? You know, everybody has an opinion on a lot of it. Some of it's, like I said, more kind of heated arguments than others. But what Mr. Bascom had brought up is the neighboring counties, even since you guys, you know, you was on the board and since last, I mean, you know, Jefferson County just did theirs, I think 18 months ago. And actually the incorporated towns have done it recently, Beatty and Patriot both, and have had pretty good response. This outfit, Mr. Baskin, with HWC Engineering, and maybe you could lead more. It sounded like somebody was affiliated or associated with Switzerland County.
Yes, it sounds like they've done a little bit of work around here, and then they just finished up in Morse Hill. Morse Hill is also a client of ours. We weren't a part of that process the whole time, so my law partner just met one of the representatives literally at the meeting. They were adopting their plan. But when I'm looking for people to price this and quote it, finding people that will do both the comprehensive plan, which is kind of the master document that you need to start, and the ordinances to follow is tough. Some people will do just the plan without the ordinance. The ordinance, you could probably try to find some folks, but piecemealing it just doesn't make sense. I think we need to find somebody.
One without the other's got an answer, right?
Exactly, that's exactly right. And so this company did both. I've had a good conversation with the fella from up there. And then I saw the product they did over in Morse Hill. He mentioned that they did some work around here in Switzerland County. And so to the extent that it makes sense for us to do it all at once, I think that does make sense, because if you piecemeal it, especially comprehensive plans with tough piecemeal that, but you could try to piecemeal the ordinances, but I think we're gonna end up, it may end up costing you more money in the long run, and it's not gonna look good. It's not gonna fit together pretty easily. So to the extent that we can get investment from county council in the budget cycle, I think probably what makes sense is if you guys are committed to this, then kind of expressing to council that we need to find the money to get this rolling in the next budget cycle makes sense to me. The ranges they put was a comprehensive plan from 70 to 200,000. Again, we'll start to narrow that down as they know what we're looking for. And then for the ordinances from 50 to 125. So the range could be anywhere between 100 and about 300,000. My understanding is the last time maybe it cost a significant amount, around 300,000. So that's
250.
They give us 250, yeah.
There's, you know, you're familiar with regional planning. So because Switzerland County's a member and pay the stipends, they write the grants for Switzerland County for free. They've done sewer, they've done water, they did, they did the, senior housing for Swissvilla. They're certified to write for Oprah, Office of Community Rural Affairs. And, they've been helping Decatur and Franklin County. The, woman who runs it, Mary McCarty, I spoke with her on the phone. She said, there's state grants tours up to, 50, 60,000, depending on how it's based on an income survey. So that would have to be done. They do that for free. The only cost, the county would have to pay the mailing cost, between $1,000 and $2,000 to get the updated income survey. I know that, I was told that the income survey, which has the no state in Indiana, gets the best rating, is partially because when they did the income survey, they didn't count people, that it was online, they didn't count people who couldn't afford it, didn't have the capability, so they almost by design, undercounted what would have been, low-income people. But she would, come and talk to you or the council to give you a full, picture of exactly what they, how you could access some of that money. At least it wouldn't be just going to the council with their hands out, to pay for all of it. There'd be money coming in from these grants. And to that point, we've done a lot of work on the blight ordinance, on the lot size and all that, but that's not what this is about, because it's not what's gonna be, it's how do you go about putting it all together and, in a form. And that's where we were talking about having somebody do it all. Another point to the council is that with these issues that have come up, and Jefferson County has incurred some legal fees, there was the gun club, there's the, didn't get that way with the confined feeding operation up in, Moorfield. And then there's a whole question of solar, which, you see what's happened in other counties, but point could be made to the council that you're gonna end up, by not updating, by leaving the 30-year-old regulations, you're gonna end up paying one way or the other. And so,
The zone has changed. When you look at the book, it's at the courthouse, it shows, East Enterprise is this zone, or, these towns have grown where, in 96, there was a lot more agriculture, let's say in East Enterprise area, where now it's more residential. So when you look at the guidelines, and that's what really heated up in Moorfield, it was zoned ag, and even though that wasn't a CAFO by definition, it was still a commercial agricultural, and that's, they come in after that. They said the same deal. They said, this is Moorfield, this is a little town. I mean, maybe it's not incorporated, but it's still, we don't want that. And it goes back to the maps. When you look at the maps and the designation of agriculture, forest recreation, and floodplain, floodplain was all changed in this county by DNR in 2014. Again, so some of those maps, by updating all of it at once, it would kind of take care of and bring everything up to speed of how the growth has happened in, Florence or whatever. Some of the other little towns that now have sewer, or like East Enterprise, and how it's developed away from agriculture and the small tracts, residential lots.
So really, there's no necessarily vote, but we just gotta get a sense that the commissioners are committed to this. There's really no action necessarily. But if the commissioners are kind of committed to this direction, then I think the next step for these guys would be to at least invite HWC. I can continue to look for folks that will do everything, so we have more than one quote. But I think at least engaging to try to get a sense from them, narrowing down in that range, making sure these guys are comfortable with the process of what it would look like to actually go through this process. And then start just advancing the ball, and then just seeing how much money we can get from the budget process. And the grants are a great idea. They mentioned that they've worked and they've helped people get grants before to help this process. I don't know if John knows of any grants that they could, that he can.
Well, the big one, I think, is the one that Herschel was talking about.
Yeah.
Oprah has a standing grant. And sometimes you don't get it on the first try, so you want to get in there as quick as you can and apply for that. I mean, we might, be able to work on that locally with foundations and some other folks to put some money into it as well. I think the comprehensive plan is going to pay off in ways you don't see coming, most likely, just having something online that shows what we want to do, what we have going for us. So that's otherwise you got to go to the courthouse and get that information. Having that out there where anybody can see, it's going to be a big difference.
there's another, the lack of a digital copy of the zoning ordinance in this county is, I'll talk about being behind the times. And another point is, Dearborn County, what they did is they added another ag district, so they have two ag districts. And, so that would include, redrawing some maps for which you for sure would need the help of, one of these outfits. So our real question to you is, should we, I guess, you want to have somebody like the state association come and talk to you? You want to talk to regional planning, have them come in and talk to you about the grant? You want to do it just you or with the council?
I guess my opinion is, number one, I think to do it all at one time makes the most sense, because I think you've got overlapping areas of responsibility, jurisdiction, whatever you want to call it. So if you try to piecemeal it, you're gonna implement or adopt something, potentially create an ordinance, and then when you get to another portion of the plan, you're gonna say, oh, well, this also affects that, so we may have to go back and change it and ultimately spend more money trying to piecemeal it than you do doing it all at once. I think timing wise, I think now is the perfect timing. We're getting ready to go into budget season, so there's not a better time to ask for the money. It's just, or to include it in the budget. It's just a matter of how much, and we can take two approaches. We could say, well, we know the cap or the max is potentially 300,000 or whatever that number is. We can anticipate 50 or 60 in grants, or we can just say we need all 300, right? But anyway, I'm all for it personally. My opinion is we should do it all at once. So that's kind of my position on it.
I agree 100%, Jay. So it's time to get it done. It's been needed. Like, one of my realtor friends, Swisher County, it's known as the Wild Wild West.
Yep.
It needs that, right?
So what would be do you need anything from us? As far as an action?
Here's what I would do. I think we have these folks come in, talk to you guys, get comfortable, make sure they're up to snuff. Again, I could keep trying to find some folks that can give us another quote. But I assume that Mark comes in and justifies his budget to council.
Yeah.
I think he needs to include that, and then to the extent that you guys can back him up, and you guys can back him up in the budget presentation of why this is important, I think that's the next step. So getting additional information for what this is going to look like, and then just justifying it during budget cycle, I think is the next step. And then in terms of the grants, I think we start those discussions now. So whoever will be our grant writer for this, maybe they will just
They
write it for us.
write grants for Switzerland. They've done all the sewer expansions, water expansions. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they don't charge Switzerland County for it. You're already paying for it, but they'll come out and lay out exactly what, that would do. It's really a question of, when you apply for grants, you guys are applying for the grant. So you should have them talk to you directly and lay it out. I'm sure that they would come to your next scheduled meeting as long as they don't have to talk, if that's what you want.
I would say I could go, so we can start that process rolling as well.
Thanks. Yeah.
There.
Hi. I'm here for the Children's Advocacy Center. First, I want to thank Switzerland County. You have supported the CAC since 2009, almost every year, pretty generously, $10,000 a year for, a long time. When I left, it went down to $8,000, which is fine. And now I'm asking again for $6,000. I think Ryan knows what we do. We work with children who are allegedly, there's allegations of abuse or witness to crime. And we have the place in the process that makes it easy for children to give accurate information so they can get justice. That's kind of a distilled version of it. And it's the best way anybody's ever thought to do this. And we work with lots of counties, usually, mostly 8 or 9. I don't know if you want to see our numbers. Got numbers. These are our main counties. We generally see like 20 different towns using that one. Switzerland is one of them. We average about 21 cases a year from Switzerland County. And if you, the second page is what the allegations are. It's majority sexual abuse allegations, and physical abuse, neglect. They're all listed there. And the difference between the numbers is lots of kids, there's poly-victimization, and they come in for one allegation, find out there's several things. So that's why it's 40 off from the number of cases and the number of abuse allegations. Any questions?
No, but I'll speak on your behalf.
Thank you.
Okay, from my personal knowledge. Question was brought to me. You were denied at the last request. And one of the questions brought to me just a few days ago is the numbers. That CAC doesn't provide Switzerland County with a lot of services by numbers. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because that means that abuse, neglect, crimes against children are at a lower stage here. For people that don't understand, if a child abuse claim comes in, and correct me if I get this wrong, comes into the Department of Child Services, they refer that to CAC. And then law enforcement gets involved. I'm a detective, so when I get a phone call from Department of Child Services that I have a CAC meeting this date at this time, that's already prearranged. That's taken care of. And that's a result of an unfortunate situation with a child. What I can tell you from my personal experience with CAC is it's a great program. No child or children in my last case wants to talk to the police directly. They will talk to a kinder, gentler gal that's sitting on a couch in a very cozy, comfortable environment while I hide in an upstairs room and watch it on television.
Right.
Okay. That takes me out of the equation, but keeps me in the middle of the equation. If that makes sense. CAC is extremely important, and the whole thought process of they don't serve Switzerland County very much, that should be taken on a good side, not a negative side.
Sort of, you know, some cases like Jefferson County, for instance, if you look at the numbers and their population is not as high as Dearborn, but their numbers are close. I think one of the effects of the CAC is that people know that the crime will be taken seriously. So they're more likely to report it. If they think it's just going to cause a lot of trouble with no justice, people won't report. I mean, that's my opinion. But I also, yeah, right. And I crunched the numbers, and Switzerland County for the population is pretty much on par with all the rest of the counties. I think Jefferson is quite a bit higher, but you know, Dearborn is 5 times the population. They have 5 times the number. Ripley is, you know, about 27,000.
What percent is 6,000 of your total ask for the region? Because Switzerland County appears to be about 5% of the people served.
Yeah. So your question is what
So
percent?
you're asking Switzerland County for $6,000. What are you asking all the counties within your region? What is that total ask?
Well, it varies from county to county. I'm asking because of what you have given us. If you want to do it per person, that's a whole different ballgame. Dearborn County gives us.
I was asking for per person. I'm asking, you have, I don't know, 10 counties?
We have around 9 in our,
13 counties on here.
uh-huh. Yeah.
And of those 13 counties, what is your total ask of those 13 counties?
Well, we have asked Jefferson for 20, Dearborn for 25, Lawrenceburg gives us 50. I asked Ripley for 9. I can't remember the rest.
But anyway, off the top of your head, you don't know what that total ask is.
No.
I was just trying to see if the 6,000 was representative of the 5%, or is it representative of 20% of the total ask? That was the purpose for the
Yeah.
question.
Well, just those numbers that she said right there, 50, 25, 20, 9. You're you're at 5%, between 5 and 10%. And, you know, I understand what you're saying, Jamie. But if $6,000 gets one kid out of a bad situation in this county, all that.
Thank you. Well, they say that the services per investigation is about $1,400 worth of services per kid. So if that's 21, that's a pretty good deal.
And I think, well, almost know that you were turned down last time.
Yeah.
Brought to me by, they didn't quite understand.
That's why I did all this spreadsheet and stuff. But yeah, and I was out of town.
I think it's just the beginning part of this process. Things used to be automatic, so now this is just a learning curve. So I think showing up helps a lot to help these guys, because you've seen it, I've seen it in action when I was a deputy prosecutor, and Sarah does a great job. I've worked with her since I was an intern in the prosecutor's office, and I've had to take these calls. I've had to be in the rooms, and so, you know, it helps immensely when it comes to prosecuting these cases.
It's a horrible experience that these kids go through. I've lost it now. And you understand that the grant is over a year period, so it's coming like a horrible route now. But financially, wait to the next order.
So we can get, if they vote
Yeah.
tomorrow or Wednesday night, they can. There's still.
I'll make a motion to approve the 6,000.
For the grant.
Yeah, I second that motion. All in favor?
Thank you.
And if I look at what you just said, if I heard you right, you said Jefferson County is approximately, you're asking us 25. If I do quick math, you're asking us for 6, they're approximately 4 times greater uses in Suffolk County. So it sounds like it's somewhat normal weighting. And that's why I don't have a problem with it. You know, if it was way out of balance, then I probably would have said, I don't know why Switzerland County 6, Jefferson County 6, for example. But it appears to be somewhat an average weighting based on usage, and so that's why I'm in favor of support.
Thank you.
I would make sure to come Wednesday as well. To help.
Yeah, I was out of town last time. Sorry.
But that's, I think people just learning this new process.
If you have any more tips for me.
All right. The next thing on here, coroner's office, this was a late addition, and the reason is I took a phone call from our coroner, Joe Spillman, yesterday. I took about 5 phone calls. The Dodge Durango we have given to the coroner's office is now dead. We don't know how dead it is. It sounds like the entire fuse box system is burned out in the vehicle. Ryan Everman at EMS just had the same problem with his Durango. It cost $2,500 to replace the fuse box inside the underhood. That is a really common problem with Dodge Durango police vehicles. But we don't know if it's out. So I called Ryan Everman yesterday, and we loaned Joe an ambulance from Moorfield Firehouse because he had multiple deceased subjects over the weekend that he had to take care of. So he borrowed an ambulance from EMS. As of today, he spoke with Ryan Everman. The ambulance that you and I, we all talked about at one point, was currently sitting behind EMS, he's in possession of. And he would like to just continue to use that ambulance. And, give up the Durango, we can do whatever we want with the Durango. That's where, instead of it just sitting, instead of made life a lot easier. For the coroner's office.
I'm assuming that's a good thing, because we got one behind.
Well, there was another one we were talking about. You were gonna take, if maybe the rear end could be used on the one that you had. I think the rear end going out.
Well, we got one, that's all.
Yeah, the other one's been sitting there some time now. We were gonna put it on that code in the office. So currently, he's driving that ambulance because the coroner's office did not have a way to transport the recent weeks. He's asked Scott Crandall to come down and look at it. I don't know if that's happened yet, I doubt it. Or it was towed, got hit with a tow bill. Down there, take a peek at it. I guess. We just need to approve or not approve when you got ambulance now. Until we know what's wrong with during the day.
I mean, if I remember this from Ryan, or maybe it was a phone call, I'm not in the meeting, but he was gonna recommend that we list it and sell it for like $2,500. If we can use it, we might as well use it as opposed to sell it for $2,500.
Yes, we know, yeah, that's what, the going rate was absolutely nothing. So I don't know,
I have a problem with if that's the our time, use it, we're not gonna use it, we're just gonna try to sell it. There's no reason why we shouldn't just give it to the coroner's office.
all in favor of giving the ambulance to Joe for now until we figure out what's wrong with Brandon.
I'll probably be, we're about to make a motion, I can get a second. Or do we even need to?
I'm not even sure that we necessarily, given it a sense, probably fine, because it's all county, it's all tied in the county's name, right? So, yeah, so I don't see any problem, but just what, as long as y'all just gave us that. If we were transferring to one entity to another, that's when we need affirmative.
So they're all, so let's put this on the agenda again. By then we should know something. We're fixing.
If it's only 2,500, fix it, I'm not opposed to fixing it either, but.
No, I'm hoping that's good. It's exactly the same problem that Ryan's had. It sounds exactly, but they're very important to that. Like several places. He's like mills. Board reports?
Oh, have it.
On the Patriot Park, I was down there the other day doing some stuff, and we probably need to get garbage cans at the shelter. I didn't notice.
Well, we got them there, Joe, because, it's higher ground now, and, if there's a flood in the future, they're always in the same spot, just like the portalets.
Yeah.
So I was just down there Saturday, and there was actually garbage cans down in Brunke.
Yeah, at the one end of the boat dock, but I didn't see any at the shelter at all.
Yeah, you have to walk it there, there's gotta be somewhere, I'd like to pick them up there.
Kane, who mows it, said that he gets, removing that tree.
Yeah, we have a board meeting on Thursday, so we'll talk about that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I do have one more. I had been looking into getting loaders, and I would set up a couple different options for 3-year payment plan and all that. Our long arm's still in the shop, and I don't know when it's gonna be fixed, and I found one down here to the auction place, they got them 40,000. We're so far behind on long arm, I think I'm gonna wait on the loader, try to buy that long arm. It's out of mind. But I'll push the loader back in.
You've got the money in there, you run the highway department, I'll perfectly fine with that. It's real good.
What we'll do, man, appreciate it.
Right before we adjourn, and you may not know anything about it, Jefferson was looking at it. I had asked meetings ago about, funeral revenue for the other counties that we distribute to.
You get 10% off the top.
Yeah, he taking our hit, while I would like them to take their hit, and he was gonna start digging into how to, for us to do.
Yeah, he asked me just today if this came up at the last meeting. So do you guys, just so I'm up to speed, you guys want to take affirmative action and possibly, you want to pursue any legal option we have?
Well, you might.
It sounded to me like he was talking about.
We tried to do it one other time, my understanding, prior to me being a commissioner. And I think met great resistance and didn't happen. So, I mean, you might want to look into that history. I'm not opposed to do it. I think we should try to do it, but
I agree with 100%. I know how County succeeded regionally, they're out completely, I don't, they got out paying everything. But I don't know if that's because they were gonna hold their license and transfer, I don't know if that had anything to do with that. They did out paying everybody.
And if you got a minute, I'll talk with you before I leave, but, because a lot of times, I think Ohio counties, their plan came up this year, so they just happened to come to the end of their cycle, and theirs came up, if I'm understanding what Ohio county's situation was. I don't know where we're at in that cycle. And like I said, John's been around a long time, he probably has some history there that I can pick his brain on.
I mean, I'm with Amy, it's gonna cost a fortune, but we're, chances are minimal, then, but it sure as heck is worth looking at. We take a hit, I think they should take a hit, there, give us some of our money back.
And this is our initial agreement with, when the money comes in, we distribute it right off the top with all these.
with three counties,
That's similar to what.
revenue sharing.
Ripley, Crawford, yeah. Worth a look. Make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
I wonder if all the commissioners know that you've got a wonderful family.
I don't,